of the Royal Court Report with Chad Andrews from Centercourt. I'm Tom Prince. You know, you're getting a look. We've got kind of our new studio put into place. We really want to thank Frank Wolf for this one. Frank really has been doing an incredible job of just trying to upgrade every single thing that we can do here at Western New York Athletics. You're seeing it just from the camera equipment, the multiple angles that we're doing, just so many different things that are coming into play with Western New York Athletics, and that's a done in his commitment to WNY Athletics. It really is second to none, and we really can't think of enough.
I so agree with you. I'm glad you said it. It should be said more than it is. Frank hustles his butt off, and he's got another job he's working at the same time he's making all this promotion of high school sports happen. Same with you, Tom. You and Jake and everybody. You guys hustle. I hope everyone realizes how hard you work. To bring attention and shine on everybody.
And the same with you. You're at a game every night. I mean, it just shows that.
Just a lot of miles I got to put on my car as well.
Yeah, but you know what? But what people don't realize, it is a lot of miles on the car. It's also a lot of gas right there. It's also a lot of money that comes out of your own pocket because you have a love of being able to recognize these basketball players. And that's what this is all about. We're not doing this show because we're here to I'm not making a cent off this. I know you're not making a cent off this. But it's about we really want to recognize these kids that deserve the recognition because there's never been an avenue out there for these kids. I don't care whether it's basketball, football, baseball, track, go up and down. I don't care what it is. They don't have the avenue to go to their colleges and say, I've been recognized by so-and-so, right? Here's the media that's recognizing me. Well, we're giving them that avenue that they haven't had in years. And for you, they've had it on the basketball world, but that's really been it for what you've done in the basketball world. And that's really where we've got to get stronger, and that's what we're trying to do right now.
Well, we were talking about before we started recording, and I don't want to mention any names, but sometimes you do this, and you do this because you're a fan of the game. That's where it all starts. And I love going to these games, and I would be mad if I had to miss certain games because I really want to get there and see them. But then, you get a little appreciation. You see what it means to somebody. You touch a kid in a way, and and make him feel like you notice how much they appreciate it, and then that's kind of like the battery in your back to keep going out and doing it. And I was telling you before, I had a young man come up and introduce himself to me at a game I was at on Saturday. And his angle, I guess, was, I'd really like you to come and see me play again. I know you came earlier, and I wasn't happy with how the game went, and I'd love a chance to play in front of you again. And it's like you think, man, it was a very nice interaction. I appreciated him coming over, and I stood there and talked to him for probably 30 minutes. Just because he was nice enough to come over and introduce himself, and it's kind of what it's all about.
I couldn't agree with you more. And we all have stories. I mean, I went to a diner not too long ago where I had 3 Amherst football players come up to me and say, hey, are you Tom Brent's? Yeah, we love what you do. Like, we follow it all the time. And that is really why you do it, to know that you're helping that one kid out there get his recognition. That's really what it's all about right there, and what people need to realize. That's exactly why we do it, and hope that they enjoy what we do.
We won't labor the point and talk about all the knuckleheads who beat us up for every little thing we say that they don't like, and why is this guy this and that. I guess that all goes with the territory too. But.
Absolutely. So let's get right into things. I mean, we talked about the first segment that we normally go through is games that both of us have seen. Unfortunately, the last couple weeks for both of us, we were a little under the weather, and we had to come back from being under the weather. And so we didn't see as many games as we wanted to, but we're going to go through some of the games that we really saw and that definitely had an impact so far early on. And I think we're going to start right where I was at last night with Orchard Park, Lancaster, which was a phenomenal game when you looked at the actual game. It was just nonstop action all night long in this game. Definitely you saw Orchard Park kind of pull things out in the end and kind of pull away at the very end. But I'll tell you, this Lancaster team is going to be, to me, a very interesting team moving forward. I think once they learn a little bit, some of the younger players learn their identity, or some of their veteran players get that extra belief in themselves, in essence.
Yeah.
The way they play defense out there, they're going to be a tough out. Kimball, no doubt, for Lancaster was the player of the game in my eyes for Lancaster. And then the underrated player of the game, to me, Jack Harrington, the defense that kid can play. When you know he is that aggressive underneath to be able to take on any big and then allow his brother Joe to be more of the offensive guy on the other side of the floor, I think once they start to learn all their identity and how they all work together, watch out. Lancaster's going to be tough. They really are.
Yeah, and you were there live. I watched a little of it on the live stream last night, and I agree with you. I saw predominantly the second half, and that's when Orchard Park put a little distance between the two of them as the game went on. But what stood out to me was Jack Harrington. I could see through the screen how intense this kid was playing, how hard he's playing, how much he wants it. And, it's going out there and banging with a big Seth Joba. It's no easy assignment. And Jack's what, he's a freshman?
Sophomore. Yeah.
Right. An underclassman banging with a big polished big man in there. And everything you just said about Jack, I agree with wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, though. I do not want to take away from Seth Joba, right? This kid still puts up 15 points, and you can see if you actually go to Western New York Athletics, the Twitter page or Facebook page, he had a highlight video that we did. He's still all over the rim and still put up 15 points, double digits and everything. It just shows how good of a player he really is. Really, to me, the difference between the both teams is some of the guard play that you really saw out there for Orchard Park. When you're talking about Keegan Mckinley, who is a kid who is a multi-sport athlete that does it all over the place on the floor. Now, remember, this is a kid who's going to go be a pole vaulter at the next level, right? That just shows
Didn't know that.
Yeah, he's going to be a pole vaulter going to Cornell is where he's going to be at the next level, right? But his athletic ability is unbelievable, what he brings to the table. And he shows it out there. And again, I think he had 12 was what he had in this game in Orchard Park and struggled a little bit to try to find a shot in the beginning. But, boy, really put the team on his back, especially when Joba was on the bench. He put his team on the back, and he was crucial to the win. And then, again, the player who I think may be the most underrated player right now in that Orchard Park team, who has stepped up now in big games, multiple games, Alex Crescente.
Yeah, he's not underrated by me. I see what he's doing out there.
But when you look at what you think about when you go to Orchard Park, right? Because we still haven't even talked about Dylan Evans, right? And Dylan Evans is a kid that jumps through the gym at the same time too, right? Yeah. So you're talking about when you got that many players that are capable of doing something out there on the floor, watch out. That just shows how strong this team is. But Alex Crescente really has done it for this team, and I love what he's brought to this team. He had, I want to say, 18 points at the end of the third quarter for this Orchard Park team, and he really is somebody that is going to be pivotal to the Orchard Park success.
Yeah, really good at the defensive end. And all these kids that you just named from Orchard Park, they're all multiple sport athletes, which is great to see. And to your point about Lancaster, before we were talking before the show about Lancaster. They're not in the top 10. They're not a ranked large school right now. What they are is that team that's dangerous and very capable of being one and capable of knocking off the other ones that they play.
Yeah. But no, they're going to be, like I said, but I think both of these teams are going to be somebody we're going to be talking about, especially as sectional play comes around. It's going to be something that we're going to be talking about, and it's going to be something that's going to be fun to watch. There's no doubt about it. I also know there's a, and I apologize because I did not want to butcher his name is what I was going to do, but I also liked what I saw coming off the bench from Orchard Park from Nation Howard.
Yes.
Was a player that we probably haven't talked about a lot. Came off the bench, was big, hit a couple threes, couple shots. He's going to be a big player also for that Orchard Park team. But especially if they're going to make a run this season and go after that sectional title. But another big player to talk about.
You see Nation's contributions every time you watch an Orchard Park game. You'll see him contribute to the game. Heck of a free throw shooter.
Yep. No doubt. So there we go. There's our Orchard Park Lancaster that we saw. Then you were also at the Timon Canisius game, which was a fantastic game that was out there. So why don't you say what you saw in that one?
So Timon Canisius, that was the first one that we saw after break, coming back from break, and it definitely had that energy of we just got back from break. It was January 3rd, Monday game, and I remember telling somebody when they said, "Oh, are you going to that game tonight?" And I said, "Yeah, don't expect a huge crowd. For some reason, there's never one that day after break." And he's like, "Oh, trust me, it's going to be full there." We got there, and it was a decent crowd, but it just, that gym lacked that energy that you're looking for and that rowdiness out of a high school game. Game didn't disappoint, though. Canisius jumped on them early. I think they took a 25-7 or 25-8 lead in the first quarter. Got up big. Timon came out, played a little zone, and Canisius started shredding it and hitting shots. Shane Sirconi, Luke Granto, both knocking down their threes. They were able to build up the lead and play with the lead the whole game. To Timon's credit, they certainly battled back and made it a game. Both teams' focus was, let's limit the stars. And Canisius wanted to limit Jaden Harrison. Timon wanted to limit Declan Ryan. You know, they did a decent job at that, but then you just get other guys stepping up. And in that game, it was Shane Sirconi who really stepped up and had a heck of an offensive performance, along with what he always does at the defensive end.
Now, Shane Sirconi, one of the top players in Western New York, period.
Sure.
No doubt was, somebody we're going to talk about. But you said it. The first quarter was 25-8 the end of the first quarter in favor of Canisius right there. So right there was, you saw Timon's in the hole trying to battle back and does that, right? Does exactly that. Wins the second quarter 14-6, wins the third quarter 12-9 to now make it a game that's out there.
Right.
And then Canisius with 4-point advantage going into the fourth quarter, winning 21-17. But it's tough when you're playing catch-up against a good Canisius team that's out there.
If I'm coaching, that's always a position I want to be in. I always want to be playing with a lead.
Oh, absolutely. Sirconi actually ended up with 26 in that one. Declan Ryan with 15. Luke Granto with 11 on that one. Flip it on the Bishop Timon side. Kevin Thompson had 20 in that one. Jacob Humphrey with 12. And Malachi Parker had 10 in that one for Bishop Timon.
So then I saw Timon play again a couple nights later over on Kenmore Ave. Now it was their turn to go visit St. Joe's. That probably the best game I've seen this season, start to finish. That was just, it was the opposite of what I was describing on Monday. That gym at St. Joe's is a little tighter, a little more intimate.
Yes.
The Rowdies were out in force. Bleachers were pretty full, and there was a lot of energy in that gym right from the word go, and the game matched all the intensity that the fans were bringing. What a game, back and forth, lead changes. In this one, Timon takes it to him early. Timon gets up early. Joe's battles back, has a huge second quarter. I think they only allowed a pair of field goals in the second quarter and might have won it 20-6. And then you get into the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter starts with a big run by Kevin Thompson, scores 8 points right off the bat, hits a three-pointer, gets a bucket to go, gets a three-point play to go. Timon's right back in the game, and then they start trading leads, big shots down the stretch. Sam Greco comes in with a big corner three to put Joe's up, maybe 24 seconds left, sets up a possession for Timon. Jaden Harrison zips one in the corner to Jacob Humphrey, who you just mentioned. Humphrey nails the three-pointer. That's the game winner. Sophomore on sophomore, Jaden Harrison to Jacob Humphrey. A couple sophomores making a big play, in crunch time, and that lifted Timon to a 1-point win at St. Joe's, a place where the last time they were there, they lost the Manhattan Cup championship.
Wow, that's you forget that. You really do. You almost nailed the numbers right there, too. Timon took 2014 lead to lead it off. Then it was St. Joe's comes back with an 18-6 second quarter.
Okay.
Tied the third quarter 14-14. Timon wins the fourth quarter 20-13 to win that by a point right there. The point totals, I just have Timon's right there. It is Thompson with 19, Jaden Harrison with 15, Malachi Parker with 14, and Jacob Humphrey with 10. 4 guys right there in double digits. So the next game you wanted to go to which was a big game. This was where we saw some the two guards for Niagara Wheatfield go nuts in this one, right? Where Niagara Wheatfield went and took on a Lockport. So you were actually got a chance to see some of that game.
I did. Lockport, they got some size. It looked like they had all their guys, and they were banging. They were, and especially early on, Lockport kind of took it to them a little bit. Once Niagara Wheatfield settled in and started hitting shots, they just kept falling. We saw Xander Fletcher and T.J. Robinson each knock down 6 3-pointers in that game, 12 total team threes. That ended up being the difference in the game was their shooting and their ability to consistently get their shots throughout.
When's the last time you went to a game where two players on the same team had 30 points in the game? Can you remember the last time you've done that?
I can, only because it's happened this year, but it's a rarity, and it's
Yes.
something we're seeing more now. Like, I think we talked a couple of weeks ago about just guys are scoring more points than they used to. 30 points used to be like, wow, look at that. Now it's like, oh, we got to almost move the bar to 40. But I just saw it last week, and it's a game we're going to talk about soon. St. Francis was at Nichols. I watched Jalen Duff and Ja'Kai Rainey both pop off for over 30, and I think they might have done it once before this year as well.
You're right, and I think that
it's fun to see.
I think we can absolutely say the reason for that. We talked about this in one of our last broadcasts. Is it's the three that really has changed the game. You know, we can thank, like we said, Steph Curry from from Golden State on that one, but it's really shown that the three ball has been something that has been very dynamic inside high school sports.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I love the 3-pointer. I love the way the game's played now. When kids can shoot and the penetration kick game, it's just open it up for them. Kids are knocking down shots. Their range is increasing. The green light is increasing. You're seeing more and more kids who, hey, if you're going to sag on me, I know I'm in Curry land, but I'll pull it.
Right.
And I don't see any reaction out of the coaches, so you know the green light's been given. And then when you see a kid like Declan Ryan at Canisius, who he'll take a couple threes, but it's not really his game. When he's pulling off 36 points, it's a whole different style, and a lot of grunt work goes into a big man piling up 30 points in a game.
100%. The big man is not the same anymore inside basketball, right? We don't see the Jobas and the Declan Ryans and those guys doing like where it used to be like the Patrick Ewing where the ball had to go down through the bottom right there. You see stints of it where you do it and try to take advantage of something, but it's not something where the entire game plan is usually around that player anymore.
It's getting to the point where it stands out. When you see a team that's trying to establish an inside presence right off the bat, like, oh, look, they keep trying to post him up.
Yeah.
You don't see that as much. You know, we're seeing a lot more 5 out.
Well, and especially, too, with the zone and the different thing that comes down where you're going to do, where they're going to get doubled down and as much help as they can down low to try to stop something like that. That becomes where that three-pointer becomes even more, because if that big man can get the pass out and can make the kick out like he should, it should be a wide-open three. And if they could put that down, makes it hurt even more, and now makes hopefully that big man free up a little bit more down low.
For sure.
Yeah. So then just to say exactly what it was, we talked about it, though. So Xander Fletcher with 31 in this one and T.J. Robinson with 30. Just unbelievable performance in that one. So now we're going to go to Olean and Allegheny Limestone.
Olean and Allegheny Limestone was a game I live streamed. I think that game was Thursday night. And if I'm remembering right, there was a bunch of snow. I didn't make the effort to drive through it. I think that was one of my live stream nights, and I believe I caught a couple that night. But Olean had gone into Allegheny Limestone over break and earned a win there in the IABO tournament, the Joe DeCerbo Memorial Tournament, sponsored by the officials.
We talked about this game last time, and it was a rivalry game.
So that last time it was a non-league game that they
Correct.
played. It was just a tournament game.
Yep.
So they actually played 3 regular season games against each other. So this was the rematch of the same place. Olean had to go back there. What really pulled my interest was that the game that was played over break, Tyler Curran was not available, and neither was Maddox DeLong. So 2 players from Allegheny Limestone, 2 key players, weren't in the lineup. So this was Olean's chance to come back in and prove they could do it again when the Gators were at full strength, and they did. They did.
63-58 being the final in that one. And the two players that you talked about, Tyler Kern has 25 in this one, and Maddox DeLong has got 8 in this one. So you talk about right there, that is more than half of the production of the team right there that was missing in the first game.
Fast start for Olean. They got up big early, and the Gators settled in, battled back, made it a game. They went back and forth. Late in the game, though, it's Olean that pulls it out. They got such a good system there.
Yes.
They hit their shots. They're always defending, and you have to, with Olean, like I talked about playing with a lead. I feel like that's what you need to do with Olean is you gotta try and pounce on them early and play with a lead and make them come back.
8-0 early on in the season right now.
Yep.
Just shows that
number 2 small school.
And listen, they have been a team that we talk about year after year after year. They're always right there in the mix. They really are.
Yeah.
They really are. It's a team that you never, I don't care what the sport is, not even basketball, I don't care what the sport is. When you hit sectional time, only as a team you never want to draw.
Right.
You never want to draw. Guess what? They'll travel 3 hours, and they'll play you, and they'll be ready to play, and they will be a team. It doesn't matter where they're going to go. They're going to be ready, and they're going to be a team to be reckoned with.
I already hopped a bus and came up to Cardinal O'Hara this year. You know, it's a long hike from Olean to Tonawanda. They came up and won by double digits at O'Hara, and then headed back to their place.
Yeah, so it really just shows.
And Tim Kolazinski, the head coach there, you know, Jeff Anastasia is a legend in high school basketball coaching circles, and as well he should be. Tim Kolazinski deserves a lot of credit for stepping into the role of head coach there and keeping that train in full motion.
Yeah, and the system in place, everything. But you know where I'm also going to give extra credit to that most people still don't do? What Olean has is a very good youth basketball program down there. They've got a really good feeder program that goes into that school right there that feeds that school, a very strong program, especially in the AAU world, that you know when you see an Olean team come out, same exact thing, they're ready to play.
Yeah, I think that is the recipe. You want to be a program that's a perennial power, you have to have solid coaching and you have to have a youth program because it's not like there's something in the water in Olean and they just always have these exceptional athletes and anybody could just go down and seamlessly pick up what they do. They're not winning by accident. There's a tradition there that's a lot of work that goes into it.
And I agree. I don't have any of the scoring from that game entered there, but we are going to be talking about one of the scores from Olean, especially in that last game. And that's going to be Jack DeRose, who's who we're going to talk about. I know we're going to get to. We could even jump to it if you want now, which is that Olean Fredonia game. And the only reason I wanted to go there is for a second Olean when we didn't have the scoring there. But here's Jack DeRose has put 31 up again against Fredonia. Was really one of their top scorers. He had 31. You had Zion James with 11, Camden McLean with 11. So you got 3 scorers right there against the Fredonia team, which we know is a very good team out there also. And leading the Fredonia team was Ethan Fry in this one, where Ethan Fry actually had 21 in this one, Nick Creeley with 11, and Nick Whitfield with 10. As we all know that we've talked about Nick Whitfield in multiple times as a 3-sport athlete, which can do it in the basketball court. We already know he can do it on the football field. And oh, by the way, he's got a gun for a fastball, and he is easily a pitcher that could be going Division I if he wanted to also. So no doubt some top players right there for the Fredonia team, where Olean comes in with another big win.
Absolutely. And Fredonia went down and lost one at Salamanca earlier in the week. I think that was a Saturday night game. I think it was originally supposed to be on Thursday, might have got moved to Saturday. Saw some of that. Credit to Salamanca. That was probably their finest performance of the year. I think I wrote something to that effect. But a 32-point win at home against a Fredonia team that they're a tough team. I've seen Fredonia. I watched Fredonia play at St. Mary's this year. I think there was an 11-point game, but Fredonia is tough. They're scrappy, and they can play. You know, you just mentioned how good Nick Whitfield is. Ethan Fry is another great player for that team. But to the credit of Salamanca to be able to take that game and put one on them like they did, and I sat there and watched that game on my couch, and the intensity and the team play of Salamanca Warriors jumps off the page at you. They are doing it at both ends. They are zipping the ball around, the ball movement. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, when we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna get a chance to do that game as long as everything stays on par for Saturday night, as they're gonna take on a good Randolph team. But there aren't many times you hear about high school. Again, talk about scoring. 92 points Salamanca puts up in that game. That's a lot of points. 3 guys right there leading the way. Andy Herrick with 23, Lucas Brown with 20, and R.J. McClarney with 19. So almost 3 guys right there with 20 points. That's a big outing right there for Salamanca. Leading the way for Fredonia in that one was Nick Whitfield with 21, and Nick Creeley with 20 in that one for Fredonia.
Andy Herrick is shooting some absurd percentage this year. I saw it in a tweet from Salamanca's account. But I think it was something like 70% he was either shooting from 3 or 2, and I was like, my goodness, you know?
Andy Herrick right now is, I guess I'd have to add it all up.
Yeah, that's a lot of fast math we don't need on our plate right now.
Yeah, so, but to give everybody an idea, 4 for 6 against Southwestern, 7 for 11 against Fredonia, 2 for 6 against Randolph, 3 for 3 against Springville, 0 for 2 against Ellicottville, 5 for 7 at Portville, 2 for 7 against Timon, 2 for 3 against Chautauqua Lake.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's that would bear out what I'm attempting to say about his shooting percentage.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go on right now to a game you already you kind of alluded to a little bit, but St. Francis and Nichols. Let's talk about that game.
So St. Francis at Nichols. Contrast to styles. St. Francis they're big, they're physical, and I would describe Nichols as much more of a finesse team with their shooters. And the game played out kind of that way. Contrast to styles. That was Nichols getting up early, St. Francis settling in, getting back in the game. Third quarter, very close. Late in the third quarter, Nichols goes Nichols and does what Nichols does, which is they start scoring in bunches. And they put a little distance right at the end of the third quarter. Might have taken a 4-point lead into the fourth, and then the fourth quarter starts and they just start erupting. I watched them do it down at Lockport when they played Williamsville East. They are such a tough team to defend. You can be all over and be all over your assignments, but you got a kid like Duff who can get a shot off, create his own shot. His floor vision just keeps getting better, and now he's setting other people up. Makai Horton playing so well for them, Parker Ray, and then what Ja'Kai Rainey is doing from beyond the arc is incredible. He is on pace to break the Western New York record. He's a sophomore. He's on pace to break the Western New York record for 3-pointers in a season.
I'm waiting for him to go out to the parking lot and shoot one from the parking lot. The way I've been watching this kid shoot
from anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, he's unbelievable.
And he needs a split second to get that shot off.
Great release, and he has 34 in that game. Duff with 32 in that game. Parker Ray with 14. I mean, just unbelievable right there. And let's not discount the scoring that happened over on St. Francis' side either, right? Brendan Reed, the big that we talked about right there, 23. You had 17 for C.J. Moore, another guard over there.
C.J. Moore had a nice game over at Nichols the other night for sure. And St. Francis, they had balance, is what stood out to me. Jeremiah Neely had a nice game for him that night when I was there.
He had 9. You had Logan Rieska, who had 16 in this one, and Sammy Murray, who also had 16.
Yeah, Logan Rieska had a heck of a dunk in that game late. Stole the ball in transition and came in and just put it down with 2 hands. And he had thought about dunking one earlier and didn't, and this time he decided, no, this is happening. You know?
That's awesome.
He bent the rim pretty good. Sammy Murray, he had a nice performance in that one as well. So balance is what stood out to me about St. Francis. It was my first live look at them. They're probably even better than I thought they were going to be this year, and that's watching them in a loss at Nichols. Now, I think pretty highly of Nichols as well. Brendan Reed, that's a big guy who can shoot the crap out of the ball. He really shoots it well. It doesn't need a lot of time to get it off, and he's going to be a problem because he can go in and bang inside too. And then they've got Mason Harrison on St. Francis.
Him and Declan Ryan are very similar in their game.
Mason and Declan?
Yes. how they could go outside and bang down low is what I mean. I'm talking
You're
about.
thinking Brendan and Declan.
Yes.
Because Mason Harrison.
No, Brendan Reed. I'm talking about that. The
Yes.
big guys. Well, we were talking about somebody who can come out to the.
I'm saying Mason Harrison.
Yeah.
It's Marcus Harrison. Excuse
So
me.
I apologize,
Marcus.
but yeah, no, Brendan Reed and Declan is who I was thinking about. It's going to be fun to watch those two really go head to head down low.
Yeah, we get it twice this year.
And then, like I said, like you see, but the difference will be is who's going to drift out to that outside to be able to do some things on the outside also.
Yeah.
That's going to be the fun part, no doubt about it.
I went into that game saying it's going to be fun in this little gym in Nichols, just with Brian Ferris and Matt Bradshaw, because they're two of the more vocal coaches from their sideline.
Right.
But boy, Matt's been mellow this year. He's a little more controlled.
We love you, Matt. We really do. So, listen, let's go right now over to Iroquois. Iroquois Will East 2, right? Second time they've now played already into this season. First one was a great game, as it was a buzzer beater right there.
You're thinking of Will East. Or, I'm sorry, Will South. Will South
Oh, I
was
apologize.
no,
Yes,
it's okay.
I was thinking. You're right. Will South was the buzzer
Yeah,
beater.
Nico DeJulia
My
had the
bad, I
buzzer beater for
apologize.
South to beat Iroquois. This was the first meeting between
With
Will East and Iroquois.
Yes, I apologize.
Oh,
yes, I was
that's
thinking
all
Will
good.
South.
It's, there's
You're
three
absolutely right.
Williamsville, so they're easy to start getting them confused.
But another big game. Will East has been taking on all comers. They really have. We've already talked about them going into the Monsignor Martin Conference, right? We've seen them play big games already this season. Got scoring right there where it started out with Jake Notaro in this one with 25. Max Schneider, who we talk about constantly as another top guy here in Western New York, he had 16. You had Dorian Faison Jr. with 17, and then Mason Evans with 14. You had four guys right there in double digits for Will East. For Iroquois, we had Nick McGavro, we've been tearing it up from three-point land for Iroquois right there. He has 16. Nate McGoldrick, the wide receiver, comes in. He gets 16. And then your quarterback, and not only the quarterback football team, but the quarterback on the basketball court in Trey Kleitz, he's got 14 in this one. So you literally had 7 guys right here between two teams in double digits.
Yeah, this was a fun game too. Kind of went Will East's way there in the second quarter, or the second half, when they were able to pull away and come away with a double-digit victory. But it was a very entertaining game, fast-paced, a lot of points in that one, and another example of them wanting to limit the stars. So Iroquois really wanted to do what they could to limit Max Schneider, a lot of doubling, and Will East puts a focus on Kleitz. I thought both guards, and they're two of the best guards in the area, still had very good games because they do so much else around looking to score. And that's really, to Max Schneider's credit, what I've seen out of him this year is, I watched him in the beginning of the year, and he might have been pressing a little bit to get his points coming off of a year where he averaged over 30 and went on this great surge last year. But now you've made that much of a name for yourself, and everyone's coming in saying, we got to stop Max Schneider. He had 14 assists in that game.
I was just going to say that. Yep, bingo.
He was dropping dimes everywhere and not pressing at all to score, just taking his opportunities when he could. And what you see is that starts to lift up the Flames. Will East, they got a team now. They've got multiple guys who can hit shots. Jake Notaro hit 7 3-pointers in that game, and I don't think he took more than 9 or 10 shots. He was just
he took 12,
drilling.
7 for 12 from three-point land.
Yeah, Mason Evans, the contribution, his growth just from the start of the season to right now is incredible. We know what an athlete Dorian Faison is.
Oh, no, listen, I can't agree with you more. I mean, this Will East team is a great team. They really are, and they are going to be fun to watch on what they're going to do inside this conference, especially when it comes to sectional play out there. And then to flip it, like you talked about, the Kleitz on the other side, Kleitz almost went for a triple-double in this one as he goes 14, 10 rebounds, right, and 7 assists in that
His
one.
all-around game is just fantastic. Kleitz has always been, I'm noticing how much Max is settling in this year. Kleitz has always been that settled in. He just plays basketball. He's never out there trying to get his points. If there's a pass to make, he makes it. He's such an underrated rebounder as a point guard, and what he does week in and week out. Great leader for that team. Yeah.
Listen, that's really where I'm going to tell you the part that I love about Trey Kleitz's game, period, is his leadership, period. What he does to bring his teammates up to me, second to none is what you see out there. When you see a kid make a mistake out there on a court, on a football field, I don't care, and your top guy comes running over and pats you on the back or puts you on the head and said, hey, no big deal. We got this. Let's do it now as a team. That's a true leader, and you see it from him time and time and time again. Love this kid. I'm going to tell you, this is a kid that at the next level is going to do something.
Yeah, and he's got a brother on that team.
Yes.
An 8th grader.
I know. We talk about him on the broadcast, right? Love his sneakers, right? We got it already coming up with a nickname because what we were talking about is sneakers.
What'd you call him, Doc?
Yeah, it was all over the place, those sneakers.
I don't know if he likes that nickname.
Yeah, they said he was all behind it. We could do it.
He's going to be a good one too.
I agree.
You know.
Yep.
I just want to say about him what he was doing in that game. Will East. For an 8th grader to be doing it, it's such a hard thing to do, knock down the mid-range shots.
Right.
But he was putting himself in the spot to do it. He would dribble to a spot mid-range and knock down these mid-range shots, and I'm going, that's the 8th grader. That's the 8th grader. That's
well, remember, Trey was at that 8th grader at that one point too.
Yeah.
Yep. We remember he came up and did the same exact thing.
Never forget the first time I saw Trey Clydes dribble a basketball. It was just during warm-ups of a game a tournament I was watching at West Seneca East, and I saw him just his handle, and I was like, holy smokes. And I looked up, and like, he's an 8th grader because he was in 8th grade at the time. And I remember saying to the coach, who also I found out was his father when he was sleeping, that kid's going to be a heck of a player.
It was fun growing up watching him and Max Dowling as the big down logo there during the AAU sessions.
Yeah.
So they've been playing together for years, so no doubt. So let's go right now. St. Joe's versus Health Sciences.
Yeah, that was my Saturday evening finale. I swung into Villa after I watched the game we were just talking about. Went over to Villa Maria and 2 top 10 large schools. That game was a battle, and it was a low-scoring battle for quite a while. Late in the second half, it was 16-16. That's how low-scoring it was.
Wow.
Health Sciences they are big and physical and defensive, and I think they're still finding their way offensively a little bit, finding who's going to make shots, and they're not a fast shooting team, a fast paced team. They're methodical. They want to get into sets, bang it in low, and St. Joe's had to play their style. To St. Joe's credit, they settled in, played that style. I think they were down 9-0 to start that game. But, they settled in. They made plays late. Justin Glover had a nice game in that one. I think he finished with 19 points. And you didn't really get a great shooting performance out of anyone in that game. So it was a game where you just had to stay with your game plan, see it through, and make plays at the end, and that's what they did. And the big play at the end of that game was Amari Knox drawing a charge that kept Health Sciences from tying the game up late. I think Joe's was up 53-51. Amari Knox comes through with a big charge late, and then Sam Greco iced the game at the line after Josh Warrington had given him the lead with a couple free throws.
Yeah, and I don't have specific scoring, but St. Francis goes up 14-5 in the first quarter. Then they flip it. Health Sciences goes 11-9, right?
Well, you're looking at Francis.
Oh,
Health.
Shoot. I'm sorry. Yes.
So that's more points than were even scored in that one, I think. The score at halftime in that game might have been 19-18 or 20-19.
Yeah, you know what? I don't have the final was 55-51, obviously.
It was.
So I don't have, though, I apologize, the breakdown. I was looking at the
Gabe
wrong one
and
right
Ty
there.
are slow on the draw, getting it updated for us.
Love to ask Ty to get that updated for us. But no doubt, listen, what I always have loved about what Ty Parker does, and as well as anything with Health Sciences does, is they are fearless in who they're going to play. They want to play everybody and get ready for a true sectional run.
They do, yeah. It's like the Health Sciences is basically a member of the Monsignor Martin because they play all the Monsignor Martin teams every year.
Yep.
So you're right. They'll schedule anybody. Health Sciences, all their games count against their seeding points. That's never seemed to bother him with how he's scheduling. He'll take whatever seed he has.
Great.
He just wants to. You're right. He wants
to get ready.
Have his team ready for a postseason run. That is the goal every year at Health.
So, and then the last one will be Allegheny Limestone and Randolph of the games that we've seen.
Yeah, that was another live streamer for me, and so you don't see the whole thing because you're casually watching at home, but it was a game of interest to me because I've had a high regard for Allegheny Limestone, and I still do, and they're coming in to Randolph, where Randolph is one of the best teams in the state in Class C, along with Salamanca, and I really think Class C is going to come down to those two, but Randolph at home is as tough of a draw as you're going to have. You go in and win a game at Randolph, that's a big accomplishment. Allegheny Limestone certainly had the ability to do it. I think it was a 47-43 game. I believe it was a final. That game was another battle, but it came down to Randolph closing it out. The difference I saw in that game was the inside presence of Gabe McCoy. He's a lot to account for. He's grabbing timely rebounds for him, and of course the defense that Randolph plays, which is always their calling card.
He had 8 rebounds in that one, led scoring-wise by Jaden Huntington with 15 and Carson Conley with 11 for the Randolph team. Drew Hind also in there with 9. But you can see a pretty balanced scoring, which is something you see from a very good team where the scoring could come anywhere. On the flip side for Allegheny Limestone, Tyler Curran, who we've already talked about, 12 points to lead the way in this one, and Anthony DeCapoa, sorry,
There you go.
had 9 in that one for Allegheny Limestone.
I think I hear him announce that the game's Anthony DeCapua. That's why we're what we are.
DeCapua, yeah, there we go. All right.
A lot of names you read and you never had to pronounce them until all of a sudden you're in the middle of a show and like,
So those are pretty much the performances we saw so far this week. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to get ready. We're going to go through what to expect for this coming week that we're going to see, games that we're going to do. Then we'll get into some of the notable performances and then finish out with the rankings that are out there. So as we take a quick break, we'll be back as we finish the Royal Court with Chad Andrews and Tom Prince.
When it's time to sell your home, start with a visit to howardhanna.com, ranked the #1 real estate site for sellers. A few clicks will show you the sales price you can expect for your home. We can get you the most money in the quickest amount of time because we know where the local buyers are and how to reach them. So if it's time to sell your home, visit howardhanna.com today, and we'll match you with a local Howard Hanna agent to sell your home fast.
If you've been injured in an auto accident, large or small, call 681-4088. RES Physical Medicine and Rehab right away. If you are in pain or just sore, don't take chances. Call RES today and take advantage of their 24 to 48-hour appointment pledge. With no copays, RES will help navigate the confusing world of no-fault insurance with you, so you can concentrate on getting better. 681-4088. RES Physical Medicine and Rehab. The most important call you can make after an auto accident.
Avoiding care can lead to worse problems. Don't delay care. We're here for you. Western New York Immediate Care provides quick, quality care for non-emergent injuries and illnesses. Go to wnyimmediatecare.com for more information.
All right, we are back right now with the second segment of the Royal Court Report. We're going to go through right now some of the big games that are going to be happening the rest of the week. We already know right now, since this is airing right now Tuesday night, at this point there will be some big games today. As we know, Timon and Nichols will be playing here today. We'll hear about those results here shortly. Niagara Wheatfield will be taking on Niagara Falls, which is going to be a really big game that's this week.
Why do we have to choose? We should be able to see them all.
Yeah.
those are 2 games I really wanted to see. Then I got Will East, Amherst.
I was just going to say that one, and then don't forget about Cardinal O'Hara and St. Francis. And
Right.
and then the same thing as you also, Lockport, Ken West. We'll see exactly where Lockport stands in the mix of things. So a big night of basketball tonight. We'll be hearing about later on this evening, probably as this is airing, you'll start hearing some of the results of this game.
Yeah, Lockport Ken West will be a fun game.
Yeah.
It'll be a fun game to watch.
Yep. So let's go into the first one we got. St. Francis, St. Mary's.
St. Francis, St. Mary's. That's a Thursday nighter. That's an interesting game to me because St. Mary's, Massimo Moretti.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see what he does with St. Francis and their big bangers.
Because he's going to have to go down low.
Yes.
He's going to have to play down low. But here will be the key to me right here is when he does come out and wants to play outside, who's going to come out with him? Is he going to take some of those bigs out of the lane right there to allow some of the guards then to penetrate into the paint to be able to do some things? That'll be the key on how they guard him when he comes out of the paint.
Both of them.
Yep.
Reed for St. Francis, Moretti for St. Mary's. They can both hit the shot. They can both finish inside. So you're going to see that at both ends. Another little layer to this game, Will Lindstrom was at St. Francis. He's now at St. Mary's, so he gets to see some of his old pals when Francis comes over. That's a cool game. Just, if you follow the Monsignor Martin League like I like to, that's just a fun game, St. Francis at St. Mary's. Looking forward to it.
Hey, listen, any Monsignor Martin game is a fun game, as we know, because it just seems like game in and game out, there's always going to be something in that division.
They really are. It's funny, I'll roll into a gym at another school, and some of the head coaches. Oh, wait, nothing else going on tonight? You couldn't find a game in the Monsignor Martin, so you picked us, and
Listen, we've been all over the place between the both of us, so we absolutely tried to spread the wealth. And I'll tell you this, and honestly, Chad, for us right now, the more you really want us there, when we're there, make sure we get the eyeballs on your game, right? It can't be one of those games that nobody watches, right? That's it. You got to support your own game just as much as the other games.
And ultimately, for me personally, I want to be where I want to be. I want to, if a game's calling me, that's where I want to be. And what really tends to call me is you take two top 10 teams, and they could be a top 10 small against a top 10 large, whatever. If you got two top 10 teams going at it, it's a major game of note for me. That's what Thursday night will be. Those are both ranked teams in their respective polls, their respective rankings, St. Francis, St. Mary's.
No doubt. So we've got Nichols, Cardinal O'Hara next.
Nichols, Cardinal O'Hara. So that's one where Cardinal O'Hara is trying to make a little noise and say, hey, we're falling out of the top 10s, and, we're in this league. We can compete with Nichols. We can compete with everybody, but they got to go out and do it. Nichols is a tough team. You mentioned before about Ty Parker plays everybody. So does Tony Palveretti. He doesn't run from anybody.
Mm-hmm.
He'll play whoever. He plays a great non-league schedule, puts together whatever he can do. And O'Hara will be ready. They'll bail on that.
And Tony will also play with anything he's got when he's got. He's not afraid to play a down a man, down two men, for whatever reason. He's going to play and make sure those kids are ready for the end of the season.
Yeah, and he doesn't make any excuses.
Yep, totally agree.
If he's got if he had somebody find themselves ineligible for a game, whatever the reason, that's never his excuse.
Yep.
He's never trying to work you to change what you think about. We'll play with who we got, and the result is what it is.
And he's going to make those players even better, so that bench gets even deeper when it's time when he really needs everybody to play.
Absolutely.
That's exactly why.
Yeah.
Yep, I totally agree. But I'll tell you, ever since we saw Nichols early on play Canisius, I had said in that broadcast, and I've said it again, Nichols is going to be a team that you saw get better and better and better each game, especially when that team learned what what they could do out on the court, what each guy's game was, because they were all new guys that didn't know each other's games, tremendously. They've just seen it on video. It's a difference to see it on video versus playing it out on the court. And every time these guys got more and more experience, you're going to see this Nichols team get better, better, and better. It's exactly what we're seeing.
So much talent. Three of the five starters are underclassmen, and the three underclassmen all played, didn't play with each other last year.
Exactly.
You had Duff was at Lew-Port. Ja'Kai Rainey was at Nichols as a freshman. Mm-hmm. And his game is, we've already said, his game is skyrocketed from, and Parker Ray was over at Orchard Park trying to contribute as a freshman. So
and was 30-point games as a freshman.
Let's find our chemistry together, the three of us, and like you said, it's only going to continue to evolve.
Yep, totally agree with there. So the next game we've got is Fredonia versus Allegheny Limestone.
So Fredonia versus Allegheny Limestone is a game of note because both teams have taken a couple losses recently, but they're both those small school bubble teams right now. And one of them's going to take another loss when they play that night, and it's going to be a very fun, competitive game, I got to believe. Nick Whitfield and Tyler Curran, a couple great coaches in Glenn Anderson and Nick Bertrando. Yeah, that's it. That league, CCAA 1 West, that is as good of a small school league as you're going to find, and it's just too bad that all those games are played 2 hours from my house, and I can't see a little more of it in person than I'd like to. But I'll still get down there for some.
So we are scheduled to get down there on Saturday. As if they get a chance to play, we're going to get down there to see Randolph take on Salamanca.
Yeah, that's.
Yep.
Yep.
So
big night coming.
And then your man Jake Fyock's on that call too, which we know he's going to yell some bangs on that one. So the next game we've got Ken West versus Niagara Wheatfield.
Ken West versus Niagara Wheatfield. Another fun game, kind of like I said, Lockport and Ken West would be fun. Niagara Wheatfield, Ken West would be fun. Ken West has the ability to play with anybody, and sometimes they come out and you're maybe not getting their best shot. I would like to think that they'll have their best shot ready for Niagara Wheatfield.
Yeah. And again, I've been a big proponent. I love Hargrave. You know that. I've talked about him. He's got a game. This will be interesting because this will almost be two different strengths when you think about it, right? Where the strength of Niagara Wheatfield being the point guards, right, or your guard play, and the opposite, maybe more closer to the bigs forwards, which is the strength of Ken West, right?
Yes.
When you look at the two teams. So how are you going to stop the other team's strengths is going to be the key to this game.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's with Niagara Wheatfield, you got two guards that you got to limit, and good luck with that.
Yep.
And they've got a nice team around it, but that is their strength, is firing up shots and guard play.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we've talked about it, TJ, we've been talking about for years already. And, listen, Xander from the point guard position has just done it also from a young age. He's been fun to watch along the way, and those guys are really showing as they've been coming along what they're capable of.
Yeah, and Xander's been playing on a bad wheel. It's at the start of the season, so his game should only continue to impress as the year goes on, and you'll probably see him start to bring his scoring up a little more, because he's had some lower scoring lines because he's sitting back and deferring, but that'll continue to evolve as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So the next one, Lancaster versus Clarence.
Now there's a Saturday morning special, one of those Saturday morning 11:30 games. Let's hope everybody's up and got the cobwebs out and ready to go, because on paper that's a very nice matchup, Lancaster at Clarence.
And you really could be talking about that 4-5 seed matchup right now, right? When you look at it. You know what I'm saying? And again, I'm not saying that they are, that they're not going to do better. But right now, it's where they're sitting as far as what you think about right now. And it really could be an interesting matchup, because it could be the difference of you getting a home game early in the playoffs.
Yeah, that could be the first of 3 games between the two. And they know each other very well. They're very similar in strength. If you look at their point differentials and games with common opponents, everything on paper tells me that's a very competitive battle, even if they got to get up early and play.
I'll tell you, and when you look at two teams being physical teams, like this could really be like one of those physical team matchups, and early in the morning could be very interesting when you get into a physical game like that.
For sure, yeah. I know Clarence likes to shoot it a little bit. They got some shooters, and they're going to want to...
Hey, listen, they also got a banger in Raymond, too, that could easily go down and bang with the best of them. So, Listen, I've seen that kid on a football field. I know what he's capable of, and he is strong.
Yes.
No doubt. So, our next game will be Mckinley versus Bishop Carney.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Bishop Carney other than they're always pretty good.
Yep.
And... McKinley is obviously a very good team this season. They're a top 10 large school, undefeated in league play. They were undefeated all last year in league play. They got pieces all over the place. That's probably the marquee matchup of the MLK Classic over at City Honors on Saturday, where there are several games.
Boy, great place to play a game, too, City Honors.
Yeah. They
love their gym. I really do. Probably don't talk about it enough in there, but just from the glass that's around you, the atmosphere, it really is a really nice place to watch a basketball game.
Yeah, it's one of those gyms they put a lot of thought into when they designed it. I agree.
No doubt. And then the last game, which you've already alluded to, that we're going to try to be there on Saturday night, is Randolph-Salamanca.
Yeah, so that's what's cool about that is they're doing a big fundraiser for cystic fibrosis. It's an annual fundraiser that Salamanca does. One of their players has cystic fibrosis, and that's why it's an important one to them. And I know both of us are hoping to get down there and be able to take that game in, even though we're going to now have our DVRs going to get back and watch Buffalo that night. But I think that game's worth it, and worth it because you're talking about two top 10 teams in New York State Class C. You know, in the state rankings, they're both top 10 teams. They're both top 10 teams locally and in the state. They've already played once over at Randolph. Salamanca went in and earned a win at the aforementioned very hard place to play at Randolph. And they want to try and do it one more time before they just might see each other for a third time in the playoffs.
Third time, right.
Yep.
So, all right, that's our games right there at the end of segment 2. We're going to take another quick break right here as we come back and finish this one off. Thank you for joining us so far with Chad Andrews, Tom Prince, with the Royal Court Report.
When it's time to sell your home, start with a visit to howardhanna.com, ranked the #1 real estate site for sellers. A few clicks will show you the sales price you can expect for your home. We can get you the most money in the quickest amount of time because we know where the local buyers are and how to reach them. So if it's time to sell your home, visit howardhanna.com today, and we'll match you with a local Howard Hanna agent to sell your home fast.
I love being home.
Avoiding care can lead to worse problems. Don't delay care. We're here for you. Western New York Immediate Care provides quick, quality care for non-emergent injuries and illnesses. Go to wnyimmediatecare.com for more information.
So welcome back to the Royal Court Report. I am Tom Prince, joined by Chad Andrews of Centercourt. We've been going through multiple games, trying to recognize what we can here in Western New York. So, Chad, you've got some top performances you're going to now recognize.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's a key to my random smatterings and just stuff that I pick up and scribble down throughout the week. And I'll rip through it quick, but if you stayed with us through the first almost hour of the show, maybe you'll hear your name get tossed out there now. In a win over Frontier, Andre Maple, 15 points, 5 steals. Trey Drake, 13 points, 5 steals. Wanted to mention that Andre Maple wasn't there when Jamestown lost their game to Health Sciences at the start of the year, and he's there now. He's a heck of a defensive player for Jamestown, and just looking through stuff, and I thought, oh, there he is, 15 points and 5 steals in the win. We mentioned before Xander Fletcher, T.J. Robinson, each popping off for 6 threes, 31 and 30 in that win they had at Lockport. Newport was a team I just want to mention. Newport, 3 recent wins, and this is now they're a small school. They're in Class B. They're playing in the NFL, the smallest school in that league. Well, recent wins over Lockport, CSAT, and North Tonawanda. So I just thought that was worth mentioning that, hey, if anyone's out there sleeping on Newport, maybe give them a look. They're doing some pretty good things down there. I don't have them as a top 10 small school right now because they have a loss at home to Riverside, who I just brought into the rankings. So that's the only thing keeping them out was that loss to Riverside, who's sitting at the very bottom of the small school rankings. But props to Newport for what they're doing. Those are quality wins. Lockport, CSAT, and North Tonawanda.
Led right now by Bobby Beeline, right now 16.2 points, as well as Logan Ute with 16.9. 2 guys averaging almost 17 points a game.
Yeah, and then props to head coach Pat Krozak, taking over for Matt Bradshaw. He used to be the head coach. He's back as the head coach now. I know his son's on the team, but clearly his impact on that team is helping a team that lost their star player and their head coach. Yep. And there's some quality wins there, so I'm glad we could bring some attention to that. Max Schneider became the second all-time leading scorer at Williamsville East last week. He passed both the Kantz brothers, who were only like 8 points apart from each other in the all-time scoring. So Thought that was pretty cool. That's pretty good if you're passing both the cons who are still out reffing games and still doing their hidden ball trick as referees. You hand it to them and all of a sudden you're looking inbound. You're like, "Where's the ball?" And Harrington, Joe Harrington, is now the second all-time leader in blocks at Lancaster and the third all-time leader in rebounds. And I think he's looking up at J.J. Harrington in both of those statistical categories. But remember, he missed his junior season, so we'll never know if he could have passed Big Brother. But
And then you got Jack coming up the ranks right now.
That's right.
Who could also have an impact in this whole thing.
You're right. Jack's going to find himself in the Lancaster top 10s in all those categories. Aiden Kennedy, coming off of a 42-point performance. That's probably a career high for Aiden over at Southwestern. Wanted to mention that.
It was a school record, too, wasn't it?
It might have been.
I think it was a school. Don't 100% quote me, but I thought I saw there was a school record.
Tom Prince says 100% quote him on that. You heard it here. We got 3 unbeatens left in Western New York: Orchard Park, Olean, and Riverside. That's it. That's what we're down to. So that just shows you how competitive basketball is, and that the really good teams schedule the really good teams because they take turns beating each other. Yep. Hard to go undefeated. Only 3 teams left still doing it. Blake Frank from Franklinville scored 38 points in a win over New Life Christian, and that pushed him over 1,000 for the season. It's his second 38-point performance of the season, and what helped him get to 1,000 really fast is the fact that he opened the year with a 60-point game. A 60-point game, which is the most points any player has scored in a game since I've been watching high school basketball locally, other than Joe Girard.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and Joe Girard was out in Glens Falls doing it. So I've never seen anybody locally have a 60-point game. I didn't see his 60-point game, but I just found out it happened. I said, holy smokes, we got to make sure we're mentioning that. 60 points. I mean, I don't know if I could score 60 points doing layups right now before I need a glass of water. Ray Cortez at Silver Creek is averaging 22.9 points a game and 12.9 rebounds. He's a sophomore, and he has a season-high 21 rebounds in a game against Falconer. 6 of his 8 games this year have been double-doubles. Jake Galley from Holland had 43 points in a loss to Lackawanna. Jake Kish at North Tonawanda, in his last 3 games, 27, 26, and 24 points. So Jake Kish putting together some nice scoring lines. Wanted to toss his name out there. Matt Sweet from North Collins had 33 points against Frewsburg. You mentioned Sean Hargrave earlier. When break happened, Ken West played Ken East. He had a 42-point outing in that Ken East game. Ken East ended up winning the game, but Hargrave had 42 points in that. Caleb Chapman from City Honors, 4 straight games with 27 points or more. You mentioned Jack DeRose earlier, 31 points in the game against Fredonia. And Darian Swanson from Westfield, he had a triple-double and a 25-point win at Burgard. And Josh Coaster got his highlights up there. I think you know Josh. He does Tape Cage. He's doing good work out there, getting lots of video highlights of players. And so want to make sure if you're not following him, go ahead and give him a follow. Watch some of the good work he's doing to promote the youth. But there's some of the notable performances I found from the last couple weeks that I wanted to get out there and mention some names.
So Blake Frank, who you said had 60, right, did that also against New Life Christian School.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now
98 points just
98 points, but in 60 points that he had, did you hear what the final was?
No.
96-94 in the win that he had 60 in.
Yeah, that's pretty good when you're scoring 2/3 of your team's points.
Wow. So no doubt, like I said, I want to do some recognition right there and give him some recognition.
Sounds like one of those games that came down to the wire, a 2-point game in the 90s, probably an overtime game. So pretty much you got to picture this whole thing as, gee, who do you think's getting the ball here? The kid who's sitting on 58? Do you think we can get a stop? No.
That's awesome. So now we're going to go to the teams that are ranked right now in the state, right? And the state does their rankings by class. So they'll look at them and go, Double A, B, C, D is how they look at their rankings when they look at the state. So right now, the double A teams that are ranked inside New York State, Orchard Park is ranked 15th, Niagara Falls 16th, and Jamestown is 21st in the double A conference. In the A conference, Canisius is ranked 10th, Amherst is ranked 17th, St. Francis is ranked 20th right now inside the A class. In the B class, Bishop Timon is ranked 5th, Olean is ranked 7th, Nichols ranked 9th, and Tapestry is ranked 23rd. In the C class are the two teams we've been talking about. Salamanca ranked 7th, Randolph ranked 10th, and in the D class, Westfield is ranked 5th, Clymer is ranked 10th, and Panama is ranked 11th. Those are your teams right now that are ranked in their class in New York State.
Yeah, you got Orchard Park and Niagara Falls are both ranked ahead of anybody from Section 5 right now. So right now the state projects that we break through and win the regional and send our top team from Double A off to Glens Falls. If you're looking at rankings, they bear it out, which I always jokingly do every week with my according to the rankings.
Right.
I don't know if anyone ever reads that stuff, but I'll say, okay, according to the rankings, this team is, according to the rankings, this is going to happen. And people say, well, you said this was going to. I said, no, according to the rankings. But yeah, it's all good, fun talking points, and a lot of work that people go in to do assembling these rankings. I know the state rankings, it's a big process. There's you have reps from each area that get on a conference call every week and lay out the records and everything. And I have fun with the state rankings sometimes, but there's no exact science to it, no. and I wouldn't want to have to take on that task.
Ultimately, it's the final ranking at Glens Falls.
Right.
Which is it. But you do your rankings here locally. Why don't you go through what your rankings that you've had for this week?
So my rankings, state rankings bear out most of the way I have the teams ranked, but in the large schools, I kept Orchard Park at number 1. They're still undefeated, and I have Canisius at number 2. I'm open to that debate from anybody, and I'm not even sure I'm right, but I'm giving Orchard Park the benefit of the doubt still because those 2 road wins that they have, winning at Time and winning at Amherst, those are 2 awesome wins, and I actually got a chance to watch them both. Orchard Park is a lot more than Seth Joba, as we've talked about, so I don't think Orchard Park's going to run the table and stay undefeated this year. They've got a tough league they play in, as you were watching last night when they played Lancaster. As long as they're undefeated, I'm going to leave them in that spot at number 1, and they got plenty of time to keep themselves there. Obviously, Canisius number 2. I have not seen a better team in the Monsignor Martin ranks than Canisius right now. They look really strong. I have Amherst number 3. I've detailed how good I think this Amherst team is. I don't think Amherst is losing again this year. I think they're gonna run the table and make a serious postseason run. Love the way that team's built. I dropped Francis down to number 4 after the loss at Nichols. Still keeping them 1 spot ahead of St. Joe's, who I have number 5. Logic on that being they had a little more of a comfortable win against Health Sciences, who they both played, who I have number 6. Health Sciences beat Jamestown, so I have Health a spot ahead of Jamestown. And then rounding it out, Niagara Falls 8, McKinley 9. And I have Niagara Wheatfield 10. Buffalo News polls bring together to put Will East into the poll, and I think it squeezes Wheatfield out. That's another one that I say I have no problem with that. I think Will East and Niagara Wheatfield would be a heck of a game this year. It was last year. Will East beat them last year. Both teams deserving of votes, and that's a fun debate for whoever. You get into small schools, I still have Timon number 1. They've been number 1 since the start of the year, and as this is airing, they've already played at Nichols tonight, and maybe Nichols beat them, maybe they didn't. We'll find out if that's right. I think they deserve the spot, right. Olean number 2, Olean undefeated. We mentioned earlier Olean's got a double-figure win at Cardinal O'Hara this year. Every year the Huskies are good, and this year's no exception. I'm not sure Olean makes it through the year undefeated in that league that they're playing in. Nichols number 3, it's one of the best number 3 small schools you'll ever see. We slid them ahead of Tapestry despite a 1-point loss at Tapestry back in December. They didn't have Matt Bradshaw at that game. They missed a couple free throws late. Not that free throws aren't a big part of the game, but I just see Nichols playing at a strong enough level, coming off a big win at St. Mary's, and then knocking off a tough St. Francis team who was red hot coming in at home. So I had them 3, Tapestry 4. Jumped Salamanca up to 5 after that 32-point win at Fredonia, and I'm comfortable with it. I think Salamanca is legit. Now, I say that now, and then they welcome in number 7 Randolph on Saturday. Let's see if that result holds. St. Mary's number 6. I mentioned Randolph 7. I have Lackawanna 8. I think I'm the only person voting for them in the Buffalo News poll, but they won a tournament that had Hamburg and Frontier in it, and they came out the winners. And you look at some of their other scores, they were playing anybody and everybody to start the year. It took some losses, but it's not always about wins and losses when you're trying to project a ranking for a team. What I saw to Lackawanna is a top 10 small school all day. Westfield number 9, they're 9-1, only loss coming at Olean. That win at Burgard, a 25-point win at Burgard. I have Riverside behind him at number 10, who's undefeated. Riverside plays Burgard twice this year. Well, I want to see Riverside go in and beat Burgard by 25. So that's why I have a Westfield 9 and Riverside 10.
Love it.
That's
there you
it.
go. So there you go. There's your rankings, right? You've seen it all. We went through the games, what to see the rest of the week, some notable performances, and then your rankings. So pretty much got it covered all. Take a look out. Tomorrow, we'll be broadcasting Canisius St. Joe's. They don't have general admission tickets they're going to be selling either. Excuse me. So you want to watch that game on WNY Athletics.
Yes, you do. Turn on your tweet notifications.
Yep.
Maybe I'll throw a couple of those out there.
There you go. And Stu Boyer will be on the call for that one. I'll join him on the call for that one. Thursday, Western New York Athletics will go to the girls' side of the spectrum. We're going to get a chance to go back to Orchard Park, where Orchard Park will take on Hamburg. Battle of the Bigs on that one for the girls. Friday, we're going to do a second girls' game where Cardinal O'Hara is going to take on St. Mary's in a big girls matchup right there. And then Saturday, we go back to the boys that we talked about, where we're going to go down to that Randolph-Salamanca game. So we've got a lot covered this week, and then we're going to add more into next week as we keep going, as we get back into the swing of things on basketball.
It's beautiful.
Chad, thanks for joining me today.
And thanks for having me. I love the new studio. Good work to Frank Wolf. Thanks to Heidi on the board, as always.
Absolutely. So thank you, guys. Thanks again for joining us. Thanks for staying with us. Hope you enjoyed our show. Look forward as we come back next week, as we go through the games next week, tell you what to look out for. But thanks again for joining us on the Royal Court Report.
When you're ready to buy a home, start your search at howardhanna.com. You'll be the first to see new listings, find similar properties, and connect with a local Howard Hanna agent. Get started today at howardhanna.com.
Being home.